Hello and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. I am Xarkun, and today I bring to you another community replay. This time courtesy of the Monk 52. He is in the Tier 6 Premium USN Cruiser Atlanta B, a ship which I also have, and at the same time, one of the most hated and loved ships in the game. Hated if you are on the receiving end of its evil, golden HE shower of deadly spam, and loved if you are on the giving end of that kind of transaction. You know, meaning if you're in the Atlanta and you can do that kind of thing. Now, the Atlanta is a tricky ship, in my opinion, to play. It is not an easy cruiser to play at all. Anybody who says it is lying to you, or else very good at playing the ship. Reasons it's a tricky ship. Well, for one, it's got a very low HP pool, 27,500. Second, very short firing range. I think the base range for the Atlanta is about 11 kilometers. And you can buff that, extend the range a little bit if you choose Norm Scott as your captain. You can get it up to 13 kilometers. But the problem is that the Atlanta is armed with destroyer caliber guns, which retain the same ballistic characteristics as, the destroyer caliber guns that you're used to. Meaning the shell arcs are incredibly high. So the reason it has such a short firing range, is because the guns need to be pointed very, very high in the air in order to lob those shells across the sky and have them come down on target 11, 12 kilometers away, which means that the Atlanta can struggle to hit fast-moving, highly maneuverable targets at distance. So what it finds itself doing most of the time is what Monk is doing here. And this isn't a very long-range shot, but this is, firing at a battleship, in this case a Gneisenau. Great target to fire at. These German battleships, somehow, they seem to really eat up that HE damage and catch fire very easily. And you see Monk has already started a fire on this guy, already taken off 13,000 of his hit points. And I will say right now, as the Gneisenau becomes annoyed and starts firing at Monk here, I will say that this is not a high damage game, although it is a very close game, and it is a very high XP game. And this is a theme that I've been touching on in my more recent videos, and something I've been thinking about with my cruiser play, which, a lot of people seem to be, from what I can tell on social media, seem to be disillusioned by cruisers because they are rather difficult to play. You take a hit in the right place from an enemy battleship and you can be deleted in a single salvo. And since they are so squishy and difficult to, remain alive in, well, that often translates to lower total damage done over the course of the game for a lot of players. But I'm here to tell you that that's okay. Because, again, it is not about the total number of damage you do over the course of a game. It's a little bit about that, but it's more about the percentage of HP that you take off of an enemy ship relative to its total HP count. So, Monk's sitting here at 21,000 damage. Good majority of that came from the enemy Gneisenau and the fires that Monk set on the enemy Gneisenau. So I don't know the exact numbers here, but if we had to make an educated guess, we could, reasonably say that Monk here took, somewhere between a quarter and half the hit points off that Gneisenau. So, that's a significant percentage. And now he's firing on this Mahan out here. and he's reduced him to a little bit less than half health. Now that's not a lot of damage to go toward his, total damage done number, but it is a significant portion of the Mahan's total HP pool, which means that is valuable experience. You take 5k off of a Mahan, which has a really shallow, HP pool compared to a battleship. You take 5k off that Mahan, and you take, 20k off of a battleship, it's gonna add up, to the same amount, or close to the same amount of XP at the end of the game for you in terms of your results, because taking 5,000 hit points off of a Mahan is potentially the same percentage-wise as taking 15,000 hit points off of a battleship. You've reduced the Mahan in that case by, half health, quarter health, and in the same case you've reduced the battleship by half health, quarter health, somewhere in that ballpark. So that's worth pretty much the same experience in both cases. So that's part of the reason why target selection in this game is so important. You want to maximize the effective damage that you do to ships, not necessarily maximize the, total number of damage points that you do to enemy ships. And what I mean by maximizing the effective damage you do, you want to pay attention to the kind of ship you're in this case the Atlanta, and you want to shoot at ships that you can do the most damage to. That is, to ships that you can take the most HP off of relative to their total HP count. And for the Atlanta, that is, of course, number one, going to be enemy destroyers. Number two, it's probably going to be enemy battleships at range, because this Atlanta is, of course, a great fire starter with its evil golden shower of HE. So that fire damage does count toward the percentage of HP that you take off of an enemy ship. So you got a fire going and it's burning on an enemy battleship, it's reducing his HP count further and further. That's going to count towards your XP for your, the end of the game. So it's destroyers primarily that you want to focus on in the Atlanta. Especially if they're close range, the Atlanta can take them out in 1-2 salvos at close range, because it's more difficult for these destroyers to dodge. You get quite a bit of time to dodge the shells from the Atlanta. I mean, look at that Moss out there. He's, 10 kilometers away or so? And Monk here is shooting at him, but it's pretty tricky to line up the shots correctly and have them come down and hit at that range. Now you close the distance, we're getting into the 8-kilometer range territory, and the shells are in the air for a little bit less time, but the time that they're in the air is still significant. It gives this Moss plenty of time to maneuver and not have these shells come down and hit him. And you see Monk has launched, I don't know how many salvos at this Mahan, and that's the first one to hit there. All he needs is a couple more to hit, and it's not a Mahan, the Moss. And that Moss is dead. And of course the Moss beaches himself, which is a golden opportunity here for Monk to take him out. So let's see if he can do that. Shells are coming down. You notice it's difficult to judge the speed at which the shells are going to come down and line up the shots correctly, even for slow-moving targets like this. But luckily the Atlanta shoots so fast that you can kind of just, adjust your aim as you watch the shells come down. And here we go, the Moss is taken care of. That's Monk's first kill here, 38,000 damage done. Very modest numbers, but alright, now let's take a look at the state of the game here. Friendly team controls the Alpha and the Bravo caps. Enemy team controls the Charlie cap. We've got a score of 430-ish to 402, so the enemy is pretty close. Only 50-point swing, or 40-point swing, rather. And, they'll be in the lead. That's because they were able to capitalize on capture points in the beginning of the game. and unfortunately Monk's team were not. So despite the fact that they're down one ship, the score is still very close. They controlled some cap points for longer than Monk's team did here, and actually, believe it or not, they are going to overtake Monk's team in points here. And part of the reason they're going to do that is because they are capturing the Alpha cap right now. And looks like the enemy Atlanta is going for it. And there's an enemy battleship there too that looks like he's maybe about to enter the cap. Realistically, all Monk's team has is a destroyer out there to the north of Alpha, who would be able to reset and, stop the capture progress of the enemy team here. While they're doing that, the friendly team is only receiving points from the Bravo cap which they hold. Since the A cap is being captured or contested by the enemy, they are not receiving points from holding that cap. Now the enemy has flipped the cap, and they own 2 caps to Monk's teams here, the friendly teams, 1 cap, which means they're going to have points coming in at a faster rate. And even though Monk's team is now ahead by 60-ish points, that is not going to hold for long, especially if any friendly ships here are inclined to be sunk on Monk's team. And that Colorado, he's on decent health. He's got a fire going, so he's not in any immediate danger of sinking. And all the ships, it looks like, on the the enemy team are at relatively low health, pretty in danger of sinking. Now we got some torpedoes coming in here from the last remaining enemy destroyer. And you can see as the torpedoes float by Monk harmlessly and come toward the friendly battleship, strike him, and I don't know how much HP that took off of him, but could be dead. But the enemy team is very quickly approaching parity in terms of points here. We've got 530 to 525, and as Monk is taking out his frustrations on this Gata here, the enemy team surpasses or gets a points lead right now. They're 1 point ahead. There are about 2 minutes left to go in the match. So in order to maintain the lead, what's going to have to happen is Monk is going to need to either capture a capture point, but that may not be enough. So he is actually going to have to take out one of these enemy ships at least. Gets a good hit there on the Gata, who is now unspotted. Monk continues to lay down fire at the last known position of the Gata, hoping to get a couple shots on him. And now the friendly team is retaking the Alpha capture point, but the damage has been done. The score is 570 to 557. It's under 2 minutes left to go in the game here. Monk is desperately trying to kill this Gata, because that's the way he's going to win. That's pretty much the only way he's going to win, especially if any friendly ships get sunk out here. So, he's still spotted, very frustrating. Gata has launched torpedoes. He's done a wide spread, which makes it as easy as possible for Monk to dodge them. I don't think you really ever want to fire these widespread torpedoes like that in the destroyer. Just makes it a lot easier for the enemy to dodge. And of course, the friendly Byron is taken out, which puts the enemy team ahead 634 to 521. There is less than a minute to go in this match. So, luckily, the friendlies have succeeded in retaking Alpha. So now the friendly team holds 2 capture points, which means their points are going up at a faster rate than the enemy's, but will it be enough to win? That's the question. It will be, provided that Monk can take out this Gata here. So this is a perfect opportunity. The Gata is not going at full speed. First salvo hits him. Second salvo takes him out. And now the score is still, not quite there. So 19 seconds left to go in that game. Another enemy ship gets taken out. Score is 592 to 596. 10 seconds left in the game. Monk is desperately asking his team to sink the Normandy. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's okay. Monk's team overtakes the enemy by 2 points and wins the game. Now take a look at Monk's XP here, and you'll see that even though he did low damage, he did get 2,500 base XP, which is fantastic, a fantastic result. So it's not all about doing huge numbers and damage, it's about making sure you do the damage necessary to win the game, and the most effective damage, meaning you need to take off as much HP from a single ship that you're shooting at as possible. If you do that, you're going to get high XP games, and of course those kill bonuses are going to help you, especially if you're killing enemy destroyers and things like that. So I hope you liked the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Check out Monk's channel, linked in the description below. And if you want to send me a community replay, feel free to do so. Contact me on the PlayStation Network if you can, or contact me via email. The email I think is listed in my profile, or you can follow my new Facebook page at Xarkun Gaming on Facebook. And, go ahead and do that if you're so inclined. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.